Hey everyone, how we doing? Happy Thursday to you. My name's Nick Bell. I'm your Line 6 product specialist for the day, and it may look a little different today. I'm in a new space, so kind of fixing all the getting all the twinks worked out and stuff like that. But today, what I thought would be cool, we're kind of doing the learning with Line 6, going back to basics, stuff like that. What I thought would be cool is to go over snapshots. That's something we definitely get a lot of questions about. And, in these one-on-one lessons that, we've been doing for a while, that's probably one of the questions we get, fairly often is, snapshots, what exactly are they? What do they control? I've had many users where, they just, dive right into snapshots and they start moving a lot of stuff around, even though just changing a preset is, really would suffice for them. So it really all depends on, what you're looking for when it comes to, changing a preset or changing just a snapshot. Obviously a snapshot is like a preset within a preset, whereas when you change an actual preset, you're able to, have a whole new allotment of amps and effects and so on and so forth, whereas snapshots just kind of manipulate what you have. So if you're an avid Helix user and you know this product inside and out, this is probably going to be nothing but review for you. But for those of us who are a little newer to the game or probably curious, maybe about purchasing a Helix or something like that, this will give you a really good idea on what snapshots are and what they can do for you. And so I have a pretty cool little tone that I put together, or me and my team put together a couple years ago. This being "Run Like Hell" from Pink Floyd, giving us a little something kind of like this. I'm going to show you that tone. I also have the, I'll give you a link so you can download this tone as well. But, knowing Pink Floyd and kind of getting a Gilmore-ish type of sound, there's definitely a lot of stuff to move around in that preset. For really, the Wall and even Dark Side of the Moon, I could use this preset for practically every song on those albums. And everything I need is in this preset, so I really don't have to change presets and so on and so forth. So enough of me just talking about that. Let's dive on what snapshots are, see what they can do for us, and so on and so forth. And again, even though I'm going to be talking mainly about snapshots today, this is really just, again, like a placeholder for us to have a conversation today. If you have questions in regards to PodGo, any Helix product, anything that has nothing to do about snapshots, feel free to chime in. Myself or another product specialist will be able to answer those for you. Let's see what we got here. Tony Campanovo, he's in the house. Great to have you, Tony. Thank you very much. And very difficult to change mode to snapshot. All right, we'll take a look into that. And so, like I said, myself or another product specialist will be able to dive in and help you with that. So let's take a look at exactly what snapshots are. So snapshots are, pretty much, well, let's start off by taking a look at what we're going to go over. We're going to take a look at what they are and what they control. We're going to take a look at snapshot block bypass, snapshot edit behavior, and then snapshot reselect. And so these are a couple really cool options that have been made available over the last several updates that we've had. And so let's take a look at what we have. So snapshots are essentially a preset within a preset. So if you're looking to have a different amp or different effects in your signal chain, a snapshot's not going to do that for you. A snapshot is only going to manipulate whatever you have going on in that preset. So you can create up to 8 variations of a preset with Helix Floor and Helix LT. For HX Stomp, you would have 3. For HX Stomp XL, you would have 4. So what you can do with snapshots is you can store and recall block bypass states, parameter control, and you can save and control up to 64 parameter changes per snapshot. So anything you're looking to do, you can pretty much get it done. Next, we have command center recalls. So everything from a MIDI CC, MMC, the QWERTY hotkey command, CV toggle, and even exit amp messages. And so when I change a snapshot, I could have things turn on and off while the drive of my amp turns up, and then it also sends to my traditional amp. If I'm doing a 4-cable method thing, let's say, I can change the channel of my amp simultaneously. So you can kind of get a lot done without having to do a huge tap dance. Now you'll notice that I said earlier, create up to 8 variations of a preset and seamlessly transition between them. So if you're looking to have delay and reverb and really any time-based effects be controlled by a snapshot, what's great is that you don't get any of the audio dropouts that happen when you go from preset to preset. And the reason that is when you change to another preset, that split second of no audio is how quickly the processors take to load up that preset and all the blocks that make up that preset. And so if you're in a situation where you do not want that kind of audio dropout to happen, but you're okay with manipulating with whatever you have in your preset, snapshots are perfect for you. Now, with the 3.0 update, we do have true preset spillover, which takes away half of your presets. So you only have one path instead of 2, and essentially you get the exact same end result where you don't have any audio dropouts or audio gaps when changing presets. Now, like I said, the caveat to that is you only have one path as opposed to 2, and for a lot of us Helix users out there, we like to use both paths. So it's really, kind of, divide and conquer, find which works best for you. And so moving on from that, also, snapshots can control your tempo as well. You could have it per preset globally, like I usually have it, because I'll just have one tempo setting and I'll change it as I go on. But you have the ability to have that change per preset or per snapshot, as well as globally as well. So let's take a look at snapshot block bypass. So before we get too deep into that, what I'd like to do is just kind of show you how to create a snapshot. So let's turn on over to my overhead of Helix. I know it's a little dark, but I wanted to ensure that we got these scribble strips in easy view. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change over to a blank preset. And for those of us who are completely new to snapshots, this will be greatly helpful for you. Now, I've already went into my global settings and I adjusted my my stomps or my foot switches where I have presets on the bottom and snapshots on top. And then if I press the mode switch, now I'm in stomp box mode. So let's just, for the sake of time, I'm just going to add 3 blocks. Let's just do an amp, a delay, and a reverb. So right now we can tell I'm in snapshot 1. We could always see what snapshot we are on by looking at the top right of the screen. And so if I want to, let's say, adjust my drive and channel volume per snapshot, what I do, instead of just, adjusting the drive or the volume, while I'm adjusting, I'll push down on the encoder and then I'll turn it. And then now that parameter turns white and we have these brackets around it. So that's telling me that this is controlled by a snapshot. So if I adjust my drive to 6, when I go to snapshot 2, 3, and 4, it will remain 6 until I change it. So snapshot 1, 6 is great. For snapshot 2, let's drop that down to, let's say, 4. So now when I go to snapshot 1, we're at 6, snapshot 2, we're at 4, and then when I go to snapshot 3, you'll notice that we're still on 4 here. So how snapshots work is whatever adjustments I make to snapshot 1, as soon as I bring up snapshot 2, those adjustments are going to show until I tell Helix that I want a different parameter. So I also talked about the channel volume. So again, I'll just push and turn. And so since I turned the drive down, maybe I want to turn up the channel volume. And so now when we go to snapshot 1, it remembered where it was previously. And so now you can kind of get an idea on what we're getting out of these snapshots here. So that's just parameter changes. Now, like I said, you could control up to 64 parameters per snapshot. Another option with snapshots is bypass control. So in snapshot 2, if I want my delay off, but in snapshot 1 I want it on, I just literally tell it if I want it on or off. And so now we could tell in snapshot 2 that my delay is off and my amp parameters are remaining the same. And then we go into snapshot 3 and my delay is on. And so I could turn that off on snapshot 3 if I want and have it only on snapshot 1. And so to kind of give you a good idea on what's going on here is that I can manipulate many things in my preset without doing a tap dance. And so just literally hit one foot switch and many things can change. I could even go over to the reverb and I could change the pre-delay. And again, how you do this is you just push down on the encoder and then you make your adjustment. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward stuff. So there's the one thing I wanted to talk about. Let's see, taking a look at what you guys are saying here. I would love that Gilmore preset if you're sharing, Nick. Thanks in advance. Scott, I will definitely be sharing that. I'll be posting it on my screen before the end of today's stream. Thank you very much for that. And so take a look here. Yo, line 6. I've had the same Spider amp since 14. I'm 25 now, looking for an upgrade. All right. Well, hey, you never know what may be down the pipeline. And so let's take a look here, guys. So one thing I wanted to, point out and talk about with the new updates that we've had is snapshot block bypass. So you may notice that if I go over and let's say I want to assign my reverb to this foot switch, I'll just assign that. You'll notice that if I turn this reverb off, and then I go into snapshot 2, I originally had it on for snapshot 2, and then snapshot 3, maybe I want it off there. And so we can see that my reverb's turning on and off with each preset, or with each snapshot, because that's what I told it to do. Now, there may be an effect, or a block, let's say, where if you're playing live, if you're jamming, and I turn this reverb on, but there's a snapshot in here where it's off, and maybe I'm not too sure where that is, and I don't want to risk it, I can set snapshot block bypass so that if I manually turn this block on, no matter what the snapshot says, it will remember my decision and keep that block on. So currently we see that I'm in snapshot 1 and I turn my reverb off. But then we go to snapshot 2 and the reverb's on. So let's say I don't want the reverb on because I told it to turn off. What we can do is press action. And when you press action on knob 5, we have snapshot bypass, which it defaults to on. If I turn this off, what happens is, regardless of what the snapshots are saying, if I turn that reverb off, no other snapshot is going to turn that on until I tell Helix that I want it on. That's what the block bypass is going to do for us. That's one of the newest additions, to snapshots, and so this could be very beneficial if you have an overdrive, a distortion, whatever it may be that you don't want turned off by a snapshot accidentally. Make sure to tell that block to have snapshot bypass turned off. Again, this defaults to on. But this could be very beneficial in a live situation where you think that effect is going to stay on, but it doesn't. And so keep that in mind when we are, when you are building your snapshots. So pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy. Let's take a look at what else we're going to take a look at. So snapshot edit behavior. So what snapshot edit behavior does for us is that if I make an adjustment to snapshot 2, and let's say, let's go back to our amp. Let's say for this snapshot, I turn the drive up to 6. We're in rehearsal right now, and that's what sounds great. Now when I go to snapshot 3, it remembers what I said to it, but then when I go back to snapshot 2, it's at 6 because I made that adjustment. Now you can assign or tell Helix that whenever you make an adjustment on the fly, you only wanted it for that instant. So then when you come back to snapshot 2, it will remember what you originally saved. So to do this, we'll go into global settings by pressing, the hamburger button, and then go to global settings, scroll over to preferences. And then right now we have snapshot edits is set to recall. This is the default. And that's why our little clock icon or snapshot icon right here, I know it's a little hard to see, appears in gray. But then if I set this to discard, now that little camera icon is red. So what that means is if I'm in snapshot 2, and let's say I for this instant, I just want the drive down to 3.5, and then I go to snapshot 3, when I go back to snapshot 2, it's back to where I originally saved it. And so this could be very beneficial in a rehearsal setting, in a live situation where you just needed a little bump of something, or adjust their state, even their bypass state as well. It's going to remember however you originally saved snapshot 2. So, it's always the little things, right? It's not it's not changing our life here, but it definitely makes things easier if you're, the kind of player that I am, where I'm always making adjustments. And, sometimes you could get a little lost where you go, man, where was that parameter, 2 songs ago? Now I'm a little in the weeds here. So keep that in mind. For me personally, I always have kept it to the default, which is to recall my edits, because usually if I'm making an edit, that's because I intend for that edit to stay. But everyone's different in however you would like your Helix to be set up. That is definitely a great way to do it. So moving on from there, guys, let's take a quick look at what else we have for you, because I want to show you, everything I have going on in that preset. So Snapshot Reselect, this is probably, one of the coolest features added to Snapshots. And so right now, if we go into my global settings under preferences, we see Snapshot Reselect on knob 4. Currently, it defaults to reload. So the whole idea here is I could go to snapshot 1, then snapshot 2, and if I press snapshot 2 again, it's just going to reload that same snapshot. Nothing's going to happen. But what if we were in a situation where we're in our verse on snapshot 1, and then I need to go to something really quick on snapshot 3 for, maybe a bar or two, and I have to jump right back to snapshot 1. What I'd have to do is I have to jump my feet around from, from snapshot 3 to 1 or 4 to 1 or 8 to 1, whatever it may be. What's really cool about Snapshot Reselect, and we'll go into our global settings, is if we change it from the default from reload to toggle previous, what I can do is I can literally go to snapshot 1, then I'm at snapshot 3, and if I press snapshot 3 again, it's going to jump to snapshot 1. What's cool about this is, like I said, if you have a part in a song, especially in a live situation, where you only need to do maybe a couple seconds of a riff or a lead, whatever it may be, in snapshot 3 or whatever, if I press snapshot 3 and press it again, I'm going to go back to 1. If I'm at 1 and I go to snapshot 4 and I press 4 again, it's going to go back to 1. It's going to reselect the last snapshot you were on. This could be very beneficial if you need to jump around quickly between 2 of the same snapshots. So keep in mind that the reload function is what is default. So currently, that's probably what your Helix is set to. Take a look at the global, the global settings under your preferences and change that over to toggle previous. That could really help you with, cutting down on the whole tap dance kind of thing. Although Snapshots really takes care of a lot of that for us already. When it comes to jump from snapshot to snapshot, that's definitely something that can help you out. So take a look here. Looks like we're doing good. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to jump over into my HX edit here, and I'm going to choose my Gilmore-ish preset, if you will. So I have a couple things happening here. So I have 3 snapshots, which we can see on the screen here. I have Run Like Hell, Rhythm, and Solo. Just something I put together pretty quickly. And what we see here on my Helix is that I actually have them renamed and each snapshot is its own color. So Run Like Hell, I have green. Rhythm, I have this blue turquoise color. And then solo, I have this nice violet. I know it's a little hard to see with the lights, right? And so that just gives me a nice visual representation in addition to my relabeling on what these snapshots are. So to rename a snapshot from the physical Helix, all you have to do is while the preset is selected, or any preset, use the preset knob on the left side of the screen. And then on knobs 5 and 6, you can actually select what snapshot you want to adjust, or even adjust, what snapshot you would like that preset to always, route to when you bring that preset up. So you select a preset and then you press on knob 6, which is rename snapshot. So right here I could rename the snapshot and I could change the LED with knob 5. And then I could press home and there we are. Of course, we could do all of this in the editor, and all we do then is select the snapshot, right click, and then now I have the option to rename and choose a new snapshot color. So however, either way you dice it, you usually could do all the same stuff either from the editor or from the actual Helix itself. Whatever works best for you, that's what I recommend. But to do it on the physical Helix, it's not rocket science. It's just a couple clicks, right? So some things I have going on in this preset. Now, we already know from earlier that if we see a parameter that's white with the white brackets, we know that that parameter is talking to a snapshot. Now, I explained on the actual Helix unit itself, to assign a snapshot, you literally just push the knob and turn at the same time, which will assign that parameter to a snapshot. To do it here on our HX edit, and we even have that little camera icon there, you select the parameter and then you just right click it, and then you could choose specific controllers and of course snapshots. And so that's just saying that, hey, this parameter is being controlled by a snapshot, so you can move those around how you see fit. Ross, thanks for joining, brother. Good to see you. So taking a look, not only is block bypass and parameters adjusted by by snapshots, but everything in the snapshot. For example, what I have going on in this preset is I have a high watt going into a high watt cab, but what I'm doing here is I'm kind of breaking off in a parallel split, and I'm running directly into a vibrotary cabinet. So just like with all of our modeling with HX modeling, we modeled the real thing. And so when we look at a vibrotary cab, instead of using that in front or after the cab like I would a chorus or any other effect, I use these types of effects like an actual cab, because that's how they were modeled. So anything from the vibrotary to the 122 or the 145, I felt the vibrotary sounded the best, although David Gilmour's using a Yamaha RA something, it was a different kind of a rotating speaker, but it sounded great. Not so much a rotating speaker, it was more of a type of speaker that had these directional type of devices that would move up and down, giving a really kind of a cool chorusy type of a sound. I felt the vibrotary fit perfect for this type of sound. But of course, once you get this preset, feel free to move stuff around. But if you haven't used a vibrotary cabinet as a cab, in place of a cab, I definitely recommend doing so. So pretty much with this preset, we have a really nice a nice sound going on. Of course, we have the two delays with the dotted note and a quarter note going on here. I'll go over to my edit screen. So I have a quarter note being fed into a dotted eighth, giving us that kind of, classic Gilmour edge type of a sound. Giving us that nice kind of a repeat. So if I go from this Run Like Hell setting and then I go into just a straight up rhythm, we notice that a lot of the wetness went away. So what happened is the delays are turned off and even the reverb turned down a bit, so I could see that the decay is at 0.4 and the mix is at 20%. If I go back to the Run Like Hell snapshot, we can see how that decay rose and also the mix shifted as well. Now, something else that's happening when I switch over to this rhythm sound, if I were to turn this block off while audio is passing through it, I'm literally going to get just a dry amp sound. I'm not going to get any cabinet sound. So there's a couple different options that I could do. Yeah, I could assign the mix directly to the snapshot and have the mix turned down to 0 and control it that way. Or what I did, which, you know, because if you were to have more effects on this parallel path, that would be a lot of blocks to adjust the mix, right? So what I did is I just made this Y split into an AB split, and then I assigned the route to function to the snapshot. That's why we see that kind of those white brackets there. And just like with any, you know, with any parameter, you just right click it and assign it to a snapshot. So taking a look here, when I go to the Run Like Hell setting, I'm at an even split. So my audio after my amp is going to both paths. But on my rhythm setting, I'm just routed to path A. And so it's literally just a straight line from the input to the output here, going down to my reverb. And so that's how I was able to bypass that block and any other blocks that could have been a part of the equation. Because like I said, if you just turn this off, you would get that, you know, just the amp sound without any cabinet modeling, which isn't the, you know, best sounding sound out there, because, you know, there's no cab, right? And then finally, I have a solo snapshot, and what that does is you'll notice even that block kind of turned off. I probably did that as an afterthought. It doesn't matter if it's on or off because, you know, like I said, the path is just routed to path A right now. So if we go to solo, the only thing happening here now is that my compressor turned off, but this bighorn fuzz turned on. And so to be traditional to what Dave was doing, kind of threw that on there, and I even cranked up the reverb a bit. You know, however he does that. And so I kind of have, kind of my one and done for my Gilmore-ish sound, if you will. Now, another thing that I've had to adjust, you'll notice, is the output. Now, as you're building tones in Helix, you'll notice that there's plenty of areas to adjust your output volume. Of course, I always start off with the channel volume on the amp, but you'll notice that, certain sounds, if my channel volume's up at 10, I may have some complications down the line to have my clean stuff in the same volume as my dirty stuff within the same preset. So the next option could be going to your cab and adjusting that level. And that's something I started off with, but I ended up not doing anything with it. So to get rid of that assignment, I'll just select none. And then now this isn't assigned to a snapshot. So to just really lock it up and get my volumes all in a good level, I went to the output block here. And we'll see that for my Run Like Hell sound, I only have a 1 dB boost right here, just a little bump. Now when we go into the rhythm snapshot, I bumped it all the way up to 0.8. And so just kind of moving stuff around in the snapshot, or moving stuff around in the in the preset by turning off a couple modulations and delays and stuff, the volume dropped. And so since this is such a clean and kind of a bone dry, since that's such a bone dry kind of a sound, I needed more volume. And so that is assigned to a snapshot as well. And of course, when I go to the solo, my overdrive is cranked, or my distortion or my fuzz is pretty loud. So I dropped that about 3 dB there. So as you can see, not only just blocks for bypass and parameter shifts can be moved around, but also the routing of your preset. Now, we could dive into the whole MIDI game and take a look at how that can change stuff, but I don't have anything set up for MIDI, but it's literally the same idea. But what we have here is our Run Like Hell preset. Before I get too far, it looks like we're a minute over, which is totally fine, but let's see what we got here. Love my HX Stomp. What is the advantage of a parallel path? So that's a great question here. And let's take a look at the overall difference here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up a new preset. And so what a parallel path is going to do for us is it gives you the ability to choose where you want certain effects. So to kind of break that down, let's just choose a cool little amp here. Let's do this Brit 2204 or JCM 800. See what we got. Kind of crank that up a bit. I'm just going to crank this up. Since we're streaming today, just doing this makes it easier. All right, so let's take a look at the advantage of a parallel path. So the best example here, I'm just going to use a delay and a reverb. So with what we have here is kind of the standard, rule of thumb when it comes to us guitar players setting up our sound, a delay going into a reverb. I'm just going to change that over to quarter note and just make my adjustments to my reverb that way so we're not like swimming in too much reverb or anything. So let's hear our sound with just our delay. Not too bad, right? I could even move the mix down. Now let's hear it with our reverb. Let's say I want to hear a little more reverb. What's starting to happen right now is we get a little bit of a cluttered type of a tone. So I have my delay processing into my reverb. So every time this delay repeats, it's hitting the reverb. So if we want a cleaner kind of a sound, I can move the delay and the reverb on a parallel path. And so what happens is now my amp sound is hitting the split and it's hitting the delay and the reverb separately. So now what's going to happen is you're going to hear everything a lot clearer. And even the volume kind of boosts a little bit and we hear everything separate. And you can hear how that delay is kind of tucked in the back. Not too bad, right? So if you're looking for kind of like a David Gilmour, Eric Johnson, just kind of a newer approach to to these kind of sounds, I definitely recommend running them on parallel paths. Even for myself, take the delay out of the equation. I always personally put my reverb on a parallel path because now I have a wet on path B and a dry on path A. So you will go from this kind of a sound, and if you were someone like me who loves their reverb, you can tell that reverb's kind of, you're kind of swimming in reverb after a while. As if your amp is at the end of a hallway. But if I move that reverb down on its parallel path, you'll hear how you have that wet and that dry simultaneously. That's really what parallel splits are going to do for you. I could also run two separate amps at the same time, whatever it may be. For this preset, what we're looking at is that I have an actual speaker cabinet and a Vibe rotary. And so I don't want the Vibe rotary before the speaker cabinet, and I don't want it after the speaker cabinet because it's going to add that color, that unnecessary color that I don't want. So this way, having them split, I'm able to hear my Vibe rotary and my guitar cabinet all on their own without any of them getting colored by the other, and that's what we get here. Now, I know we're running towards the end of our course today. Sorry I didn't turn this on earlier. This is the preset for this Gilmore-ish tone. So all you got to do is Line 6 custom tone right here. What you need the most out of this link is the numbers, the 5532195. As long as you copy that down, go put it right in your browser, and you'll have that preset ready to go. There's no impulse responses or anything in this preset, surprisingly. So don't worry about having to download anything else. All you need is this preset, and you'll be ready to go. And it'll give you a pretty good idea on what we have going on with those, with those different snapshots. So it looks like I went a little over today, guys. Kind of just getting into the weeds of thing. I hope definitely helps you out in your endeavors. Let's take a look here at what we got going on. Yeah, it looks like we're doing good. How do you undo a snapshot configuration? What you can do there is literally, you could go into your HX edit. You can right click a certain configuration and click none. That's one way to do it. There's also another way where you can actually delete all snapshots, and that's something I haven't done in a while. So let's take a quick look here to answer this question for you. So let's see here. I know we're getting to it a little late, Carlos. My apologies. So I always, if I ever have a slight question when I haven't done something in a while, I always like to take a quick look. What I would do is, if you want to, what I have here is swapping snapshots or even copying and pasting snapshots. But really what I would recommend doing is literally just go into your preset, and anything that's assigned to a snapshot, for example, this guy with the even split, and we could see that it's white with the brackets, I'll just right click that and press none. And by doing that, that'll tell it that it is no longer controlled by a snapshot. And so that's something you could definitely do. HX edit makes it very easy to do that. You could even do it, of course, on the actual Helix itself. You can literally go over to your Helix, press and hold, and then we see controller as snapshot, and I could actually roll that down to none. So essentially what I just did on HX edit, we can do on the physical Helix here. I'll just press home, and now we're back. So that's how you would want to do that. Thank you, Carlos, for that question. And so, guys, let me throw that up for you again. That I think we have it there. Yep, there we are. So again, please make sure to download that preset. But before I let you guys go, just want to let you know that myself and other Line 6 product specialists are hosting Helix Skype lessons or Zoom, whatever you prefer. Feel free to go on line6.com/events and sign up for a one-on-one free lesson with one of us. Any questions you have on current products, we'll be more than happy to dive in and let you know what's up. Everything from the Helix family, the PodGo family, and really anything else that is current. Let us know what's up, and drop us a line by registering, and we'll be more than happy to get you hooked up and get you with one of us and kind of answer your questions, talk shop, and it's something really nice. So without further ado, guys, thank you so much for taking the time and checking out the stream today. Next week, I believe we have Sir Tony Campanova, who will be shredding your face off. So feel free to tune on in, and hopefully we see you at a lesson and at another stream soon. Otherwise, thank you so much, guys. It's been my pleasure. Take care.